Well, they arrived at the stadium 2 hours before the game to be greeted by one of the largest Walk of Champion crowds in Bryant-Denny Stadium history. Nick Saban led his team into the arena tonight before the annual renewal of the Iron Bowl. And here's a live look outside the stadium. Fans have cleared out. Alabama wins the highest scoring Iron Bowl in series history. 99 total points, 1,169 total yards. Alabama is your Western Division champions. Welcome in, everyone, to a special Iron Bowl post-game coverage right here on WVUA. We'll be with you for the next 30 minutes or so breaking down this Iron Bowl.
And we bring the second member of the team in,
That's
me,
you.
Jenn Chapman. Another great Iron Bowl. Let's talk about some key plays in this one.
Let's do that.
We'll start in the second half.
Yeah, second half was big, especially Blake Sims. Only 4 interceptions all year coming in this one. What did he do?
3 interceptions.
3 interceptions tonight. And he was huge because he was able to bounce back. Nick Saban talked a lot about that. We'll hear from him in just a minute. They responded. Auburn scored off of that one. At one point, it was 33-21 in this ball game. Amari Cooper, Heisman potential.
That's right, and that's why they went to him. That was 34-yard touchdown pass.
Yeah.
And if it works, they're going to probably want to try it again.
And again.
And we'll hear from Saban later how he talked to Lane Kiffin saying, you got to go back to Amari Cooper. He always provides that big spark that they need.
Well, not only that, but Sims his confidence went through the roof after he threw those interceptions. You kind of saw it on the sideline. Jake Coker starts warming up, and you think, oh no, they're gonna put Coker in, they're gonna pull Sims, but he really came back, was resilient. Nick Saban said it a lot in the postgame, resilient. His whole team was resilient. You see here on this run, I mean, just wanting it more than the other guy and getting into the end zone. Let's take a look at some stats. Keys to this game, look at that. Second half dominance. Alabama 34-18 in the second half, scored touchdowns on 5 straight possessions after falling behind. And this one, Blake Sims, there's his numbers, 20 of 27, 312, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and of course, Amari Cooper. What more can you really say about Amari Cooper? 13 receptions, 224 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Think he's punched his ticket to New York?
Punched it.
It's gone. We're ready. All right, well, now we bring in the third member of our crew, our fearless leader. Yes, fearless leader. WVUA Sports Director Gary Harris standing by on the field. Gary, what do you have for us?
Thank you, guys. I really don't know what I can add. Just another amazing football game, an incredible new chapter in this Iron Bowl rivalry. 55 points by Alabama ties the record for most points by the Crimson Tide. They scored 55 in 1948. Of course, they won that one 55-0. 55-44 tonight, but the 99 points combined, clearly the most in an Iron Bowl ever. The nearly 1,200 yards of total offense, the most in an Iron Bowl ever. And, you know, the thing that I take away from this game is the fact that Alabama found a different way to win. I think the emphasis under Nick Saban has been on defense, clearly. That's what wins championships. But I think maybe last year they learned that sometimes against these kind of teams, particularly against Auburn, that's so explosive, so many weapons, that you're going to give up some points. You know, you're going to give up some points, you're going to give up some yards, and sometimes your offense just has to match their explosiveness, and that's what happened in the second half. Blake Sims shook off a, at times, miserable performance and got hot, finding Amari Cooper. Yeldon and Henry downhill with a running game. They wore Auburn down, and it was 55-36. The game was over. Auburn gets an touchdown and 2-point conversion right there at the end. So afterwards, Nick Saban came into the press room, and he too said, you know, I'm not happy. I'm not happy giving up 600-plus yards. I'm not happy giving up 44 points. But we found a way to win the football game, and now we're going on to Atlanta as the SEC West champions.
Always be able to be resilient enough to play through adversity, which we certainly did today. It was great for our seniors, the last game in Bryant-Denny Stadium, which was really important to me that they have a great memory from their last game here, and a lot of guys that are seniors contributed out there and down the stretch even, which makes you proud, and I'm sure our players are extremely happy to win the West and actually have an opportunity to go to the SEC championship game. You know, a lot of things that we need to do better as a team. You could say in a lot of ways we didn't play our best football, especially in the first half, but you got to give their players a lot of credit for making a lot of really good plays as well. So really, really proud of our team, really proud of the character they showed in the second half. And, you know, I just told the players at halftime, you know, we have 30 minutes. You know, a lot of you guys have a lot of goals and aspirations. This is kind of a gut check as to what kind of heart you have, what kind of character you have, what kind of competitor you are as to how you go out and play the second half of this game. I believe in you. I think we can win. I think we will win if everybody makes a commitment to doing their best in the second half. And, you know, I was really pleased with the way the players responded, how they came out and played. And even though we turned it over the second play of the second half and they went down and scored, just made the comeback all that more great for our players in terms of how they competed through adversity.
Front right, Mark.
It seemed like they were having a lot of success throwing the ball, but you made the change to Bradley Sealy. What did you see from him down the stretch guarding those guys?
Well, they had a lot of success throwing the ball. It wasn't no seems like it. It was 456 yards worth, and there was about 7 or 8 of those that were big plays. All right, so you're not going to hurt my feelings by saying, you know, I got it right here on the paper, 456 yards passing. You know, and a lot of those were big plays, big plays. We knew going into the game that, you know, 18 and number 1 were really good vertical receivers, and we worked hard on trying to keep those guys cut off, and we didn't do a very good job of it. And, you know, they made a lot of big plays. Nick Marshall made some great throws, and, you know, we certainly need to do better. We haven't played a whole lot of games where we give up 42 points and win. You know, that's not really been our style. So, you know, we obviously need to do a better job with our players and preparing them for the game so that we can play better and put them in a better position that they have a chance to be successful in. And then when we do that, they got to do a good job of executing. You know, I said before the game, and I don't think very many people listened, that sometimes you can misplace your emotion in rivalry games. And our team was as fired up as I've ever seen them, but it was misplaced emotion. You know the game's going to be a tough physical game, and you got to be ready to go play a tough physical game, and I don't think we really did that even in the first half. You also have to have a lot of trust in, I got to go execute and do my job, and we mis-executed a lot of things, even though we were emotional. And you got to really have confidence that that's the way you play well. That's the way you have a chance to be successful. And, you know, we had great emotion, but we weren't channeling in the right direction. And we did a much better job of that in the second half. And coverage as well. I mean, I know they hit one big play. A couple great catches that they made where our guys had a chance to make a play on the ball. We just need to do a better job of how we're going to play vertical passing teams in the future.
Left, Michael. Early in the third quarter, after the third interception, looked like Jacob Coker was warming up. What was going on then? How was Blake's confidence, and how did he respond?
Well, you know, we had thrown 3 interceptions, and you know, there's good interceptions and there's bad interceptions. All right, and these were not good interceptions. When I say good interceptions, I mean not really the quarterback's fault. And Blake just didn't seem to be having his best stuff. And I talked to him about, you know, he needs to respond and do a little better. But we didn't really think about making a change. But if things kept going the way they were, we probably would have given Jake a chance. But, you know, Blake has made a lot of plays for us, and I got a lot of confidence in Blake, and I really wasn't anxious to pull the plug on him. I wanted him to give him every opportunity to, as a senior and a leader of this team, to sort of bring this team back, and he certainly did that very well.
All right, Coach Saban, you know, as he does always, just telling it like it is, not sugarcoating it. But Alabama gets the victory in a memorable Iron Bowl. Some numbers for you. T.J. Yeldon had a phenomenal Iron Bowl, 127 carries, 2 touchdowns, or 127 yards, 2 touchdowns on 19 carries. Derrick Henry, 5 carries, but 75 yards, and really that game-clinching touchdown in the fourth quarter. You know, the Alabama defense played 90 snaps. You know, that's what happens when you play against this Auburn fastball offense. But Trey DePriest, the senior signal caller in his final Iron Bowl, came up with 14 tackles and 1 half tackle for loss. He played phenomenal football. And let's say this for the defense. They bent, yeah, they gave up 630 yards, but a kind of a role reversal from the way Auburn has played against Alabama in games. They got tight in the red zone. They made Auburn kick field goals early when the Tigers were moving it up and down the field. Ultimately, that was the difference in the game. And don't forget that big fourth quarter stop when it was a 12-point game with over 6 minutes to go in the game. Auburn scores there, and we got a game that's going to go down to a wire. Alabama gets a fourth quarter stop on defense. So a good night for a lot of Alabama players. Amari Cooper, incredible as always, over 200 yards in receptions, 13 catches, and the guy is just a true playmaker and a difference maker for Alabama. So the Crimson Tide gets it done, 55-44. Don't know that I would ever thought in my life I would be giving that score for an Iron Bowl, but Alabama's on the right end of it. Back to you guys in the studio. Rodney Orr will join me later, and we'll discuss what happened here tonight. That's going to do it for now. Gary Harris reporting live from Bryant-Denny Stadium. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Gary. And that's right. We're going to talk to some of those, or hear from some of those defensive players, some of the offensive players, specifically Amari Cooper, the man himself. More reaction coming in. Next, we're also going to look at some key stats.
That's right, in tonight's game, and let's take a look right now of what's going on outside as it's gotten really quiet and everybody has dispersed. We'll be right back after the break.
Stay with us.
3 of 3. Here's his 4th throw, and he wants the end zone. Cooper got it. Touchdown, Bama.
And there you go. That was one of the first of many big plays tonight from Amari Cooper. Look at the concentration. He gets not one, and you pointed this out in the press box, 2 feet in. That's big-time NFL moves, right?
That's what I was saying earlier. He's already ready to go.
There you go. He's looking forward to, who knows, maybe that's the last Iron Bowl Amari's played in. I think we could probably bank on that. And we'll probably see him in New York in a couple of weeks, maybe after a big game against Missouri.
Definitely. Twitter's already blowing up that he's got to be in the top 3, especially after a night like tonight, tying his own record with 224 yards and 13 catches. He's just such a huge spark for the offense. But the most amazing thing about him is how humble he is.
Right.
And he never just takes the credit upon himself. He always puts it right back to the team.
That's exactly right. We talked to Amari after the game. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
Thinking I have to run a pretty good route so that I can get open and score.
What is the belief in Blake, Amari, that not only you have the team that makes him come back from bad starts and stuff? And is it something you see in practice? You've seen in games, obviously.
Yeah, myself, DeAndrew, and Christian, we've always rallied behind him when he messes up a little bit, and we tell him he can overcome it and to play the next play. And so when we did it this time, he believed us because we've been doing it all year. And he just forgot about him and made big plays.
What did you say to him after the 3rd interception?
I said, man, we're behind you. Let's go. Play the next play.
What was the emotion on the sideline at that point?
You know, since I've been here, the emotion when we're down has always been, you know, we can come back. It's never too much for us.
What kind of coverage did Auburn put on you today? Was there a lot of single coverage, double coverage?
Yeah, they play a lot of man. They play a lot of cover 8. Those are the.
Did that help them long touchdowns?
Yeah, on the first long one, they were in man. On the second one, they were in man. And the third one, they were in cover 3.
Mark, on one of your touchdowns, Lane Kiffin had his hands in the air to celebrate before Blake had even thrown the pass. I mean, does that kind of speak to how confident he is in you against man coverage?
Yeah, I guess he's seen me do it a lot of times in practice against man-to-man. And so, yeah.
What did Coach tell you guys at halftime?
He gave us a small little speech, told us we haven't been playing how we're supposed to be playing on offense, defense, or special teams. He wanted us to come out there and play the Alabama way.
You're going to play the Alabama way tonight. That was scoring 55 points in a rivalry game, so that's pretty incredible.
And a lot of that coming in the second half. One of the interesting things Amari Cooper also said was that this game was won before the season, or before basically in the summer, and the way they have, you know, pre-season and everything like that.
Off-season conditioning and all of that. Scott Cochran, really kind of one of the unsung heroes, obviously, of this team. He works a lot with the defense, and the defense, you look at the stats, 630 total yards they gave up tonight, so it's maybe not exactly the one you want to put up on the old resume if you're Kirby Smart, but they got the job done when it mattered.
And if you think about in the beginning of the game, those red zone opportunities that Auburn had Alabama's defense not shut them down and let it go to a field goal, this game would be very different.
Absolutely. So, 14-9 felt like it could have been 14 to maybe 21, 23, 24. But they made some key stops. Landon Collins, one of the guys who did a great job in the secondary. I think he had 9 tackles. He's had 7 or more tackles in the last 3 games for the Tide. You know, they were able to kind of contain the run to the corners. It's something that they had a hard time doing a little bit in the first half, but in the second half, they got some of those key defensive stops that really keyed that second half comeback.
They ran a few plays that hurt us. I mean, they ran really different motions for real. But other than that, we everything that we saw on film, they did.
This was an extremely entertaining game for the fans, obviously. But in the game, you know, can you categorize what this game was like on the field?
It was pretty much probably the same to the fans. I mean, frustrating at times, but once we got going, and then everybody had the energy that they needed, bounce around on the sideline. And it feels good to win.
What was that emotion? 33-21 early third. What was going on?
It was frustrating, but like I said, the chemistry that we got as a team, we try not to let each other get down. We just say keep pushing. I'll go talk to Blake personally and just tell him to tighten up and let's get it going and see what y'all can do. And then they ended up doing that. They scored, and then we went out and got a few stops and handled it.
What was he saying? What was he saying at that point?
Just telling me that he'll handle it. I mean, ain't too much to be said. I mean, they got to go out and do what they got to do.
You guys warming up. I mean, do you think that hurt the pads?
Do what now?
Coker was warming up at a point. He was getting loose. Did you see that?
I mean, I don't think Blake paid attention to that. I mean, he's been playing well all year. He had a few mishaps, but it was what it was, and he got it fixed.
How satisfying is this one today, Sean? I mean, you know, obviously you said last year's behind you and all that, but come out here, come from behind, win this game, clinch the West, go in Atlanta. Just talk about your emotions and getting it done against Auburn.
I mean, I really think it's any other game we play. It's a win. I mean, that's what we all want to do is win. So that's just how I see it.
So just no special feelings attached to being Auburn.
No, we still got another game to play. So I mean, move on.
What was it like at halftime? I mean, they kind of came back there at the end and burned you twice. What was the mood?
There was no mood change. I mean, it's football. Things happen. You know, take it play by play. The game ain't over because they made a play. So you keep playing, do what you got to do.
Defense would give a lot of yards, a lot of points to win the game. What can you learn from that game going to Atlanta next week?
Really, we cracked down on a lot of mistakes. And from the first half, they just kept making other plays. I mean, you only can do so much, but teams still going to make plays. I mean, that's the game of football.
Finally, I know he's on the other side, but Wade Sims is a pretty resilient guy, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, he's a great guy. You know, he brings a lot of fire and energy out there to everybody on offense and defense.
You know, Ashawn said something really important there. The game's not over until it's over. Especially in this rivalry, the whole 1 second thing can finally be put to bed. There's the stats. You see them right there. Good grief. It's like a pinball machine. That thing's lit up. Alabama and Auburn combining for a whole lot of yards, a whole lot of turnovers, a whole lot of first downs in this ball game. A big thing for tonight on senior night, Trey DePriest led the team in tackles, 14 tackles. He's a senior. Then you have Nick Perry, 13 tackles.
He was second, yep.
And he is a
senior. And
senior
Landon Collins was fourth on the team with tackles.
And
so
he probably won't be on the team next
year. Yeah, so
making that money. We're going to go back down to the guys who make the big money here. That's Gary Harris and Rodney Orr standing by live on the field, guys.
Thank you. Indeed, I am joined by Rodney Orr from Tider Insider TV and TiderInsider.com. And Rod, I just want to go back and talk about the ebb and flow of this game. We know it's the Iron Bowl. We know strange things happen, but, Alabama comes out with Griffith kicking off, clearly not 100%. Pooch kicks it out of bounds. They get it to 40-something yard line. Auburn does. They throw a lateral first play, turn it over. Alabama scores. Auburn kicks a field goal. Alabama scores again. It's 14-3, and you're thinking, well, they may blow them out of here. And then Auburn makes so many big plays in the passing game with Nick Marshall. At one point early in the third quarter, after Blake Sims threw his third interception and Auburn capitalized, you're thinking Auburn's going to blow this game open. Both teams showed resiliency, but in the end, it was Alabama that made more big plays than Auburn, and also the Crimson Tide defense, 630 yards, but they got a lot of stops in that red zone that really preserved the victory.
Well, I think a few things stand out to me. First of all, you talk about those stops, Gary. They forced 5 field goals. The first 3 Auburn drives that they converted on points were they forced field goals. So I thought that was really big. And down at the other end of the field with 6 minutes left in the game when Auburn was still trying to get back in it, Alabama forced a stop there, held Auburn short around the 10-yard line. So that was really big. So the defense did come up big in that regard. And also another thing that really jumps out at me towards the end of the third quarter when Blake Sims hit Amari Cooper on the 75-yard touchdown pass. From that point on, Alabama actually outscored Auburn 28-0 until that last touchdown that Auburn got in junk time and then added the 2-point conversion. So Alabama really dominated down the stretch.
And Sims, there was a stretch there where he was playing as poor football as he played all year. Nick Saban admitted that they got Coker up not because they were planning on taking Sims out, but if that kind of play had continued, they might have had to make a move. But the guy, once again, showed you that he's clutch, and in the biggest moments, he can shake off whatever's happened previously and make plays.
Yeah, you wondered there for a moment if he could do that. Not that he hasn't shown in the past what he can do, his resiliency in some of these games that we've seen like LSU, but Gary, he was really struggling. His first throw in the third quarter was intercepted. It looked like, it's certainly not a good start to the second half, not what you're looking for, but he just exploded. The throws to Amari Cooper had a 39-yard touchdown throw down here. He had a 75-yard throw to Amari for another touchdown. He had the great 11-yard touchdown run. Blake Sims accounted for 4 touchdowns, passing, had another one rushing. Throw those interceptions out because he certainly more than made up for it.
Duke Williams was back for Auburn. Remember, they didn't have him against Georgia. I knew he was good. I don't know that I realized how good he is. You put him with Coates. But I'm going to give the Alabama coaching staff credit for this. As I said earlier, Nick Saban's not happy. He never wants to give up 630 yards and 44 points. But they also adjusted in the game, and it looked like they just said, you know what? We're going to have to get some stops, but we got to score some points. They went for it on 4th and 3, which was huge, led to a touchdown. They kind of, in some ways, beat Gus Malzahn at his own game.
Oh, absolutely they did. And again, I talked about the 28 unanswered points there when they kind of just took control of the football game. And, I thought Bradley Silv came off the bench and really played well at that corner spot. Eddie Jackson was a little shaken, obviously, but I thought Bradley Silv did an outstanding job. We really haven't seen him since the first game of the year against West Virginia when he kind of had a difficult outing. But, again, I thought he played well. I thought Nick Perry had another really good game, had that big interception.
13 tackles.
Yeah, 13 tackles. He really had an outstanding game. And so, again, I know that Auburn had – if somebody would have told you Auburn would have had 90 plays for 630 yards, scored 44 points, you would have said there's no way Alabama's going to win the game. But, sometimes I know fans, expect great defense from Alabama. But here's the thing. This day and time, you have to find ways to win football games. Good teams can make the adjustments and do what they have to do to win football games. Tonight wasn't the norm, but Alabama did what it had to do.
All right, kick 6. It's still there. It's never going away. This win doesn't undo what happened last year when Auburn knocked out Alabama out of an opportunity to win 3 straight national championships. But what it does do is it puts Alabama in position to win this national championship this year and the SEC championship next week in Missouri. Obviously, there's some things against Missouri in Atlanta. There's some things they've got to tweak and fix, but this is where you want to be. And this team has fought their guts out after that Ole Miss loss, survived against Arkansas, survived against LSU, and now it's right there, and it feels pretty good. I think this team, I don't want to say they've overachieved, but I think they've gotten the most out of their ability.
Well, I think saying overachieved is kind of fair. When you look at what maybe the expectations were of some at the beginning of the year, not that Alabama wouldn't be a good team, but you really didn't know about the quarterback situation. You've got a freshman left tackle, just some question marks, and certainly for this team to be 11-1 It's been an incredible, run for the players as well as the coaching staff's done an outstanding job. And, I think this win, you talk about the kick six last year never be forgotten, sure. But, I mean, when you look at the way Alabama had to come back and win this game, Auburn was on the cusp. They were up by 12 in the third quarter. They had control of the football game, and they certainly were ready to take those bragging rights again for the second year. And it would have been worse, to be honest with you. It would have been worse than it was last year. And, for Alabama to snatch that away from them the way they did, and as you said, beat Gus Malzahn at his own game. That's what he did. So I think, Alabama fans should be really happy with the way this game went, and that, Alabama, like I said, kind of gave Malzahn a little dose of his own medicine.
55-44, Alabama clinches the SEC West, and with it, a trip to the SEC Championship game next Saturday in Atlanta against the Missouri Tigers. Alabama wins there. They're going to be the #1 seed in the national playoff. They'll play the semifinal game in New Orleans at the Superdome, and if Alabama wins that game after winning the SEC Championship game, they'll play for it all in Arlington, Texas at Cowboy Stadium. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris reporting live from Bryant-Denny Stadium on this Iron Bowl wrap-up show. Now back to you guys in the studio.
That's right. We still potentially have 3 more Alabama games left, so that's kind of incredible to think about. That possibly, we've got the SEC championship game, and then if they win that, 2 more games. So this season, possibly far from over.
And potentially 2 very close games, too.
Yeah,
New Orleans would be great, almost like a home field advantage to some
she
sort.
just wants to go to New Orleans.
I would love to go to New Orleans, and then also Dallas. So,
2 great towns.
Yep.
Exactly. And Alabama would not be disappointed if they saw both of them this year. We've got a little bit more to go. We're going to talk about those Missouri Tigers and the SEC championship game when we come back. Let's take a look outside the stadium and see how it's, clearing out. It has cleared out just a little bit of those Alabama fans. Probably, if we moved our camera, we could probably see the strip a little bit. That's probably where a lot of them are.
That's where they all moved down to the left.
Exactly. Hey, we're coming back to wrap up this special Iron Bowl post-game edition on WVUA. Stay with us. Welcome back to this Iron Bowl post-game edition here at WVUA. This is Missouri, and this is going to be Alabama's next opponent coming up this Saturday. They got a big win against Arkansas, who is one of the hottest teams in the country. A resilient team is Gary Pinkel's bunch. They have won 2 consecutive SEC East championships. Let's take a look at that graphic and see the particulars of this SEC championship game coming up. Alabama, Missouri in the Georgia Dome. Alabama started the year in the Georgia Dome, and they will end it at 3 p.m. on CBS next Saturday.
So more Tigers is what's up
more
ahead,
Tigers.
too.
We've got Tigers everywhere. And Jen, something that I want to ask you. This has been your first Iron Bowl experience. Yeah. How did you enjoy it?
It was interesting. I think I said earlier, we only get to see it from a professional side. We don't get to be a fan, and it would be really nice if we could ever just go in the student section and hang out and actually get to enjoy it like that. But the emotions were so high, not just on Saban's side and for the players, I felt like for the fans. And just being in here the last couple of months, I've been to quite a few games at Bryant-Denny Stadium, but none like tonight. It was definitely louder and more deafening in there. I don't think I've ever been to a game, and I've been to NFL games where it's been that loud.
Well, and I said that the Florida game was really a game that I noticed the crowd really affecting the other team. The Mississippi State game, it was the same way.
Loud.
But I thought...
But not like tonight.
Not tonight. Tonight, early on especially, and Coach Saban mentioned how the crowd really fueled his team, and they were loud tonight. Obviously a sellout for those fans, and they kind of can take home part of the win. Coach Saban always talks about the fans really being the energizing force behind this team, and it was no different tonight in the Iron Bowl.
And you could see it at the Parade of Champions. You literally could not see any space of grass.
Absolutely.
And that has not, I mean, there's always a big crowd, but not like that.
Yeah.
So it definitely was an eye-opening experience. I know how important this game is, and it really, you know, one of the reporters that was here said, you don't really understand it until you're actually there. And I feel like now I can say,
there you go.
I understand it because I was there. So, wow. And it was one to remember, and I guess that's the way they always should be.
Exactly. And last year's, obviously, is now in the books. You can close the book on it. No more kick six talk from us anyway, and from the people in the media, hopefully. from now.
For now, it will be Alabama's comeback. That will now be the talk for the next year.
Exactly. Well, hey, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We obviously have a lot of people to thank. Gary and Rodney on the field, all the guys that have been doing work all day on this show, on Crimson Tide Kickoff, on the news, everybody who has been doing things today. We appreciate your work, and we also appreciate you for watching. We will have a lot more on WVUATV.com. But hey, let's take a look. We mentioned a second ago the Strip. There it is. If you're planning on going out, that's what you're looking for right there. What do you think, Jen?
I can see some traffic.
There's a little bit of traffic.
They're all headed down there.
Exactly. A lot of happy Alabama fans tonight. You hear the music in the background. It's a Roll Tide night. Alabama wins the Iron Bowl 55-44 over the Auburn Tigers. Let's take a look as we leave some celebration video. Let's watch that clock go from 14 all the way to 0, the magic number. The Crimson Tide wins. They are the SEC West champions. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Good night.